Hi everyone, Sandman here. This video is brought to you by a donation from Mr. Anonymous, and here's what he has to say. Sandman, you can do a show commenting on Mark Passio's claim that the MGTOW movement sees women as flawed by nature, and not necessarily flawed by social engineering. He claims that authentic women are not flawed. Their flaws are being imprinted into their minds by social engineering, i.e. neo-feudalism, neo-puritanism, human rights ideology, etc. He also claims that MGTOW only recognizes the consequences of social engineering, not social engineering is the root cause of the modern-day gender division. Best regards. Well, Mr. Anonymous, thanks for yet another donation and for bringing this video to my attention. I've heard of Mark Passio before, and for the most part, I've seen him as a financial opportunist trying to profit from the social chaos that feminists and others have brought about. I could never have gone through this multi-hour video, so thanks for watching this 2.5-hour long video and sending me a link to that particular MGTOW section. So let's get down to what Mark has to say about both MGTOW and the MRA. His argument is that MGTOW looks at nature more than nurture, that we rely too heavily on evolutionary biology instead of socialization, that we put women at fault for the downfall of humankind, and he wants to discredit us. I agree with him to a certain extent that the current condition of the female mindset is because of socialization, to a certain extent. This is because men don't have the ability to discipline women legally, and marriage is no longer for life, and a man can't put a woman in her place without risking everything that he's worked so hard to build up his entire life. Instead, women have a monopoly over disciplining men. The children out there, also known as women, are disciplining the parents, the men. If it were only up to social engineering, then tell me why when we actually take a woman out of a third world traditional country and bring her to the West, she will usually go buck wild after realizing her new sexual marketplace value. Men are generally financially opportunistic, so they can gather resources to attract females to mate with. Women are generally opportunistic in choosing a mate that can give them the largest number of resources to ensure that their offspring survive. That's not to say that socialization doesn't play a part in this, but I would argue that roughly 70% is nature and 30% is nurture. I don't have any numbers to back up what I just said, but the argument is not as simple as one or the other. It's a combination of both. Most MGTOW channels do a good job breaking down the issues and explaining that it's a combination of both social and female nature that are responsible for the way that women are. Mark Passio is also generalizing MGTOW and not actually listening to what we have to say. He's lumping us all in as the opposite of feminism because feminism believes 100% that women and men are the same and that all the differences can be accounted for by socialization. By saying that all MGTOW believe that 100% of the differences between men and women are biological, he's painting us with the same brush as feminism. We all know that women do what's in their best interests. Any rational human being will do so. But they're also socialized to do things as well because of status from their peers. If you tell people it's either social engineering or biology, you're taking a very complex situation and making it black and white. Then Mark goes on to say that not all women are like that and that most aren't, although some of them are. Mark Passio is selling the idea that we're being socially engineered to not want to have children by Big Daddy government, as well as the corporations. He sees MGTOW as promoting this agenda as well, so therefore screw men's individual freedoms to choose how they want to live. If we aren't having babies, then we aren't being productive. We've seen similar arguments from Black Pigeon Speaks recently, about pornography being bad because it means that people in Europe will have less babies. This is an attempt to demonize male behavior and perception. Also look at the audience at the events that Mark is speaking at. It's roughly 30 to 40% female. Do you really think that he wants to alienate female customers to generally spend more money than men? He's also white knighting and encouraging other guys to do the same because he says the solution is for men to explain to women what is actually being done to them. But that's impossible because of the universities and feminism, as well as social Marxist indoctrination at the universities. The winning ideology in our society is the one in schools being taught to those young minds in their late teens and early 20s. He also says that most women don't want to hear they're being manipulated. So then why should I put my efforts into educating women if they don't want to hear what I have to say? Mark Passio says he's going to do it anyways himself and try to influence society. I wish him the best of luck. But when he talks like that, many women will respond to what he has to say. All you have to do is visit his website called whatonearthishappening.com and you'll be bombarded by conspiracy DVDs, keychains, buttons, USB keys, t-shirts, stickers, as well as donation links. He also charges $160 for an all-weekend pass for a conference that he's putting on in Philadelphia in April of 2017. Sure, I take donations for putting together videos, and I make money off my AdSense, but I'm not making tens of thousands of dollars for weekend conferences and selling MGTOW merch. I honestly think that just like the PUA community, Mark sees MGTOW as a threat to the business that he's put together for himself because he discusses how men should re-masculinize and women should re-feminize. If men simply walk away from the table, then what he's saying means absolutely nothing. If you believe Mark, then you'd think that the female chameleon, hypergamy, monkey branching, and all the other naughty female behaviors I discuss on a regular basis are just a symptom of social engineering, instead of being an evolutionary adaptation designed by nature to help women trick a man to gain access to his resources. Mark also doesn't want to see the gender war that we're in escalate, so therefore he's saying our way of thinking is flawed. He also says we have zero idea about the occult and that we aren't taking that into consideration when we're discussing females. We're only seeing the symptoms but not seeing the real causes. He, on the other hand, offers solutions. The thing is, men are solutions-based. They have to have an answer to their problems that they face. To tell a man the solution is to walk away from the problem, i.e. women, is very defeatist for many men. It means a man has to rewire his brain to think more like a woman. But in a rapidly feminizing world, the best thing you can do is think like a woman in the end. That way you can protect yourself from their manipulations. After talking about MGTOW, he then gets into a section called The Rebirth of the Goddess. He also implies indirectly that things like MGTOW are in fact religions. He kind of reminds me of the comic book guy from The Simpsons. Mark is a great speaker and commands the attention of the crowd. I was also told many years ago that if you're a man with the gift of gab, you have the responsibility to use it properly. The second link in the description calls into question Mark's credibility. According to that article, Mark says that he learned most of what he knows from guys like David Icke. And Icke believes that most of the powerful people in the world are actually giant shape-shifting lizard dinosaurs. Here's a little excerpt from that article about Mark, and I quote, "When you start accepting the tall tale that powerful aliens are among us, you immediately lose all credibility in the real world and pretty soon will be rendered unable to effectively investigate anything because you're too busy looking for little green men from outer space. Passio's research is built on the backs of notorious frauds and disinformation artists, which is why I dismiss him so easily. You cannot construct anything real based on research of people like David Icke and expect anything but bullshit to emerge on the other end, because Icke is pushing total bullshit. Yes, I know some of the stuff that Icke says is real, like is there actually a real conspiracy of power at the center of the banking industry? That's obvious. But it's not being run by aliens from outer space, unquote. Ironically, Mark says himself that you have to be careful with regards to the types of company that you keep, and it looks like he's done a fabulous job picking up on the work of disinformation quacks out there. Do we as men going our own way have any proof that evolutionary biology trumps social engineering? Of course we don't, but we have observations and life experiences to explain away women's behavior and rationalize why they do the things that they do. We have a solution today that will protect you financially and bring you peace in your life, and that solution is don't get married or move in with someone. It was Upton St. Clair that once said, "It is often difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding it." And I think that Mark has good intentions, but he can't see MGTOW for what it really is, because his income depends on selling action-based solutions to people. The passive-aggressive nature of men going their own way is opposite to the more active resistance that he's trying to sell his followers. Mark's recent talk is called The Unholy Feminine, Neo-Feminism and the Satanic Epi-Eugenics Agenda. Of course he's going to see MGTOW as a threat because he's putting out his own philosophy to compete with ours. He's using critical theory much the same way that cultural Marxists use it to attempt to shut us up and paint us with the same brush as feminism, which he is actually attacking in his work. He also spends more time discussing MGTOW than the MRA. He probably understands that the MRA can't really change anything, even though they have hundreds if not thousands of people behind them. If they can't change the social dynamics between men and women, why would he actually think that he can? He's a smart guy, knows that nothing will change, and if it did, he'd actually have to find another topic to speak about. But reinventing himself would probably be tough, and people don't like change, even though he's a guy that talks about change in his talks all the time. The argument is nature versus nurture, and anyone telling you that it's one over the other should lose credibility because the world is not black and white. It's made of many subtle shades of gray, but it's a lot easier for people to think of it as black and white, good and evil. Lately, many MGTOW channels have simplified to believe this because it means that the listeners don't actually have to do mental gymnastics. Vagina equals bad. Penis equals good. Penis in woman's bum, good. Maybe Mark is getting his ideas about MGTOW from much of the negative talk that he sees from MGTOW forums and the blind hate that he's probably run into. I, on the other hand, don't see women as bad or good. I see them as incubators for humans combined with sexual entertainment. If you can remove their monopoly on those things, then there's no need for men to interact with women anymore. Women will be attention deprived and self-destruct like an emotional suicide bomber. That's their own burden to bear because we men have actually had our burdens long enough and we were exploited at every turn. Mark wants to be a white knight for women and I wish him the best of luck, because technology as it gets better and better is going to strip women's functions away, commoditizing them one at a time and selling them to men at wholesale prices. We won't need Mark's female goddess to be the middleman. We don't need Mark to be our middleman for the truth either. I know some of you will probably say that David Icke knows the truth about the shape-shifting reptilian lizards. I've never seen a world-leading lizard before, but I've seen women repeat the same types of behavior over and over again enough times to figure out that there's a pattern that can't be limited to socialization and culture alone. I've noticed it in African, Indian, Latin, Asian, as well as white women that I've dated. It's there to a certain degree in every type of woman. Just like the desire to get laid is there to a certain degree in every man. You can't say the only reason men want to have sex with women is because they see pornography, just like you can't say that women treat men the way that they do because they're actually socialized to you. You can't just say that men are naturally pigs while at the same time women were made that way because they were taught to behave in such ways to begin with. Women want men to think that because it takes the plausible deniability away and makes them come out clean on the other side of the argument. Anyways, that's all I've got to say for today. Thanks again, Mr. Anonymous, for your donation as well as your topic. Don't forget to check out the MGTOW mystery link and like this video. As for everyone else out there, please follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills. And remember, a red pill a day keeps the big-breasted lizard people away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.